Ciao, it's lunchtime. When I was in Sicily last week, I spent some time doing some videos, and one of those was with Franco at the Cacioppo bread making facility, and very kindly he donated me some black bread to take back to England. This is one of the loaves of bread he donated me, and I will be making a bruschetta today.
Gosh, that looks lovely. It smells lovely already.
Franco gave me a few tips on what to do with the bread, but I will be making my own recipe, which actually I've made on this channel before, but not with this bread, so I'm actually quite looking forward to it. But before I dig into the bread, I'll get the marinade ready. However, to retain a level of authenticity, I will be using some fresh tomatoes from Julie's vegetable patch.
Woohoo!
And to stay in the Sicilian spirit, I will be putting my cap on that I wore on the day.
God, everybody, I thought we'd left this in Sicily. In fact, I hid it.
And I've got it in the UK now.
My sister-in-law said, oh, I bet Julie hid that and didn't want you to take her back to England. I didn't,
I love it. I'm sure you do. Maybe you can let me know. Should I wear my hat or not? See what you think.
Oh, God, please join me, everyone, in the no column. This is my favourite gadget, everybody.
This is the only time when I use this little gadget when I make bruschetta. You can use a food processor if you like, or you can use bought tomatoes. But the reason why I use that is because I don't want them to be too liquidy. Of course, you can also chop them with a knife, but this is much easier.
When it works. I think this pile here needs another go.
Okay.
Yeah, so much for that. Not creating too much juice.
Everything
They are so
in a bowl.
juicy because of my green hairs.
So having tidied up after myself and Julie's sarcastic comments, I can now add a couple of cloves of garlic to my tomatoes. Fresh basil, I'll pick a good bunch. I'll chop it roughly with my knife and add it to the tomatoes. I will be honest with you, in Sicily when they make bruschetta, they don't really worry too much about quantities, 1 level teaspoon or 1 level tablespoon, but I will be giving you the quantities of my recipe, and then obviously you can adapt it to your choice. So this is balsamic vinegar, and I will be using today 1 dessert spoonful, and I will add it to my mix.
We have got a bit of a thing for balsamic at the moment.
Yes, we love it.
I even put it on my cheese on toast at the moment.
Yes, very good actually,
Which is
cheese on
lovely.
toast. Followed by a couple of dessert spoons again of olive oil. This is extra virgin olive oil.
Obviously.
That is the one thing you need to make sure that you do use some good quality olive oil, ideally extra virgin. Again, salt and pepper, quantities to taste. Real olive oil, by the way, you do not need to buy the most expensive you can buy in a supermarket. We tend to buy anything between 8, 12 and 13 pounds. What is important is that it's extra virgin, and then you can check where it comes from. So do not go and spend a fortune. And this is done, and I'll mix it and I'll leave it to marinate while I get on with the bruschetta next. Time to slice the bread for the bruschetta next. Here is what I was showing you earlier, but before I go there, I wanted to show you, in case you have not seen the video from Franco, what he donated me, and this is a larger version of that.
Version.
It's frozen. I've placed it in the freezer using Franco's instruction. He did say to put it in some paper. I will not be eating it today. I will keep it for special occasions, probably when all the children are home. But today I will be making a bruschetta with this one, but also I will be making Pane Cunzatu, which I'll show you next. Pane Cunzatu, by the way, it's dressed bread, and it is something that goes back many years ago, pre-war most probably. And all it is the way that Sicilian use bread, and they dress it with sardines or anchovies, and very simply olive oil, salt and pepper. But they make that when this bread is really hot out of the oven, and I do remember eating it as a child, and but clearly I'm not going to be using all of this bread. I will do a little version with this one, but I'd like to tell you a little bit about this bread. I'll put it back in the freezer and I'll tell you in a moment. So this bread is called Pane Nero, and it is a specialty of Castelvetrano, which is the place where I come from in Sicily. It is something that we used to only consume on a Sunday, mostly because, not because it was a treat, because it was only available through householders who used to make at on a Sunday. All of the bread shops were closed.
So it was a bit of a cash in hand sort of a purchase on a Sunday.
Yes.
Because you weren't supposed to make and buy your own things without all the legislation. Yeah.
So I've just done a couple of slices, and I'll replicate the Pane Cunzatu. So I'll place this in the oven quickly to warm it up, but not to toast it, just for a couple of minutes. In the meantime, I'll do my slices through the bruschetta, and entirely up to you really how thick you do your bruschetta slices. I like them to be approximately 1 centimeter in thickness, but I've seen people who do them thinner or considerably bigger. I think I like them 1 centimeter so that you get a good blend with the tomato marinade. I have to say, whenever I see this bread, memories flood back into my brain. When I was little and we used to have this on a Sunday, I remember me and my dad with my younger brother Stefano, we would go to this farmyard or farm place in the middle of nowhere, and they used to have chicken and pigs, all sorts of little animals. And as soon as you arrived, it looked like literally the middle of nowhere, mud on the floor, poo from the animals, and the smell as soon as you opened the door was the wood from the oven. So once we battled our way through the muddy floor, we arrived at this place which was like a big farmhouse, and it had a massive door, had like a curvature, like a big church door, like an arch door, yes, massive thing. But then there was a little door within the door, a smaller door, where you lift the big wooden latch, which as a child used to weigh a ton. You walk in, and the heat from the wood-fired oven was amazing, and the smell coming from the freshly baked bread. And I remember this lady used to give me this big piece of 1 kilo bread, and it was so hot that you could hardly hold it in your hand, even with the paper, and I would flip it with my brother. And we get back in the car, and by the time we get home, a good chunk would be missing because we'd be eating it. They're lovely memories. I know that they might not mean a lot to people, but I'm sure that you will have something similar. And that is the memories that are in my brain whenever I smell this bread. But let's deal with the Pane Cunzatu first. So here is my hot bread, and I'm gonna be following Franco's recipe to the letter. So he did say to me to use a little bit of tomato, so I'm going to slice another one of Julie's special tomatoes. Olive oil on one side of the bread, a little oregano first on the bread, tomato next. These are anchovies which we keep in oil. So again, this is Franco's suggestion, so anchovies in they go. A little salt, pepper, a little oil on the other side of the bread, and a little bit more oregano. And quite simply, put on top of one another, cut it with a knife, and tuck in. I can see what he means. No doubt it's nothing like the real thing if the bread was just made and the sardines were where the fresh sardines it was referring to, but it's pretty good. Thank you, Franco.
I'll have a go. I'll have my half in a minute.
Having had a little snackette, we can move back to the bruschetta.
It's delicious, by the way.
I'm using the same bowl as before, and I will be starting by pouring 3 dessert spoons of olive oil in it. When I made this before on the channel, I did not use oregano, but Franco gave me a very good idea, so I will be adding oregano to the recipe. So a little pinch of oregano goes in, and another clove of garlic. By the way, if you don't like garlic, you don't have to put it in. Clearly, if you like it, adds more flavor, more taste, but it will be delicious as well without it.
And just be grateful you don't live in our house, everybody, if you don't like garlic. My mum's not the biggest fan, is she, bless her? We have to temper things a little bit with her.
Indeed. And I'll mix everything together. So here is my sliced Pane Nero, and quite simply I'm going along and brushing one side of it with my new marinade. It's just Julie and I for lunch, so I've done a few slices. Clearly you will have to regulate it accordingly depending on how many people you're cooking for. As you can see, these are really basic ingredients, and it goes back actually to the Second World War, this bread specifically, when I think I mentioned that in the video with Franco, when clearly a lot was not available and flour was really scarce. And this type of flour, which is called Tumminia, combined with some hard durum flour, is what they used to use to make bread. They didn't used to use any yeast, was just using the sourdough, and the key properties of it is that it lasts for a long time. And during the war they used to use this a lot because clearly it was cheap. There were lots of available ingredients in terms of simple ingredients, and it was a very staple diet for a lot of people. And I think I did mention in the video that lots of old people nowadays do not like it because they associate the taste of this bread with the war, but it has got a little bit of a sweeter taste because the Tumminia flour is a little bit sweeter, and it's absolutely delicious. And we're nearly there now, and before I put it in the oven, I'll sprinkle some Parmesan cheese on top of each slice of bread. By the way, in case you're wondering, the word bruschetta comes from bruscare, and bruscare is quite simply to toast. So we're going to be toasting the bread, so bruschetta comes from that. And there are many varieties. My version is what I like, and clearly you can do without cheese, you can do with cheese, you can add sardines, or you can add whatever you like, but that's what bruschetta comes from. And the very simple version of the bruschetta is what Franco told me. Simply just toast the bread, olive oil, salt and pepper, and a little bit of oregano, and that's just delicious as well. I'm talking about bruscare. I'm putting them on a tray, and I will be putting them in the oven at 180 degrees for about 7 minutes until they are nice and toasted. Whew, hot. And we are done. Actually, it was in there for 10 minutes. This is clearly rustic bread and it takes longer, but you can make it with any bread, of course. Sourdough bread will give you a very similar sort of effect, but also ciabatta was very good when I tried it before. If you were to make it with ciabatta though, do not cook it for 10 minutes less, otherwise I'll burn it. You want it to be nice and toasty. And the job is done really. Here is my marinade, and very simply just I'll spread some on top of my bruschetta. What I'll do with the other ones, I'll chop them in half. I'll place my marinade in the middle. I'll keep one whole, as we like him. And I will position my bruschetta, half bruschetta slices, around the plate, so that Julie and I can just help ourselves. Gosh, that's crunchy, listen to that. That's perfection. Would you like to taste some? Oh yeah. You hold it. Love it. What do you think? I think stop making the video and let's eat. Clearly the mix is the same as what I've done before. The oregano is added, but the bread is different, and it does make it really sweet because of the Tumminia flour, and delicious. If you get hold of some sourdough bread, you will replicate a very similar taste. And grazie Franco once again, and hopefully you will enjoy, anyone watching this video, if you make it. Arrivederci e grazie. Ciao.